Section 3 is about conducting primary and secondary research. Research is the methodical search for information relevant to the report topic. And there is primary research and secondary research. And primary research is gathering first-hand data by conducting interviews, surveys, or even systematic observation. Secondary research is the use of data that is already there. And so it could come from books, it can be anything published, experienced, or already observed. So you could read about somebody else's research that they conducted through observation. We have library databases, and these are a collection of searchable information that's stored digitally so that you can access it from your computer. And most libraries, especially in college, they have a database where you can find online articles and publishings. And libraries, like I said, subscribe to these databases that provide information about titles of documents and brief abstracts. Databases accessed through libraries contain all kinds of information from magazines, newsletters, government data. So this is a good place to start, is with your library when you're trying to find research information. Librarians are there to help. So if you are having trouble finding something, librarians will steer you in the right direction, and they'll help you understand their cataloging system or computer system and how the library works. And also a good place to get information is, of course, books and ebooks. They usually provide a lot of in-depth information, whereas an article is not going to have as much information. And of course, check the book's table of contents or index. You can find a lot of information just by looking in the index, looking up some words, and it will take you right to where you need to go. Or look up the table of contents, look at the topic that you're looking for. You may also find, if you look at a book and it's referring to some kind of study and you keep thinking, wow, this is good information, you can look at that book's bibliography and you might find some helpful articles that they have referenced. I've done this several times. Although books can be swiftly outdated, they provide a broad background. So if you're trying to develop an understanding, a book might be helpful. Periodicals are publications produced on a set schedule. And there's 3 kinds of periodicals that might be helpful. Scholarly journals published. These are usually written by experts. Trade publications. So if you're looking for a specific trade or industry, you may want to look at trade publications. And then you have newspapers, magazines, and other periodicals that are there for entertainment purposes, persuasive purposes, and just to provide information. And these are usually the general public is interested in newspapers and magazines. When searching the internet, you can do this in a browser, and of course you know this. You can use the Google Chrome, Firefox. There's different browsers. I like Google Chrome, but there's more than just that for you to choose from. But what a browser is a software application that connects to servers and displays their web pages. When you enter keywords or search terms into a browser, the search engine is going to scan and locate content for you. And some of the best known search engines, well, of course, Google. Bing is another one, DuckDuckGo. Those are just some examples of some of the best known search engines. The Google Advanced Search is a good web search tool to use, and it allows researchers to narrow searches more effectively than using a simple search, which returns only the most popular results that Google displays first. So this is a good feature that might help when you're researching Google Advanced Search. And then here are some internet search strategies and techniques in your book. Here they are. And this is great advice. Let me make that a little bit smaller. I'm not going to read through those, but definitely use these when you're looking up information. This might help you conduct a better search. So you also have Wikipedia and other encyclopedias. And it says you should not cite or copy from Wikipedia, general encyclopedias, search engines, or similar reference works in your writing. So just because this is, if you want a little background, this is okay, but their information is too uneven in quality and too general. But if you look in the encyclopedia, you may find a better reference that they referenced. So instead of copying from the encyclopedia, actually go back to what it cited to get better information. So it's important to remember what you read on the internet, most of it's not true. So be careful. It does provide good information, but you definitely need to evaluate the credibility of internet sources. So the communication workshop at the end of this chapter will provide a comprehensive list of questions to ask when you're checking the currency, the authority, content, and accuracy of a website. So just be careful when you're conducting research on the internet. So let's talk about conducting primary research. Sometimes you just have to have that first-hand knowledge. And so there may not be any information out there on what you're studying. So the way that you're going to do primary research is you can do surveys, interviews, observation, or even form an experiment. And let me just mention this. Here's an example. If management wants to discover the cause of increased employee turnover in its Seattle office, well, they could start with investigating employee trends in Seattle. That would be a starting point. But they may need to do a survey, an employee survey about job satisfaction, and also interview management, so you get both perspectives. A survey is a method of gathering information from a sample of people, and we do surveys in e-learning. You actually complete surveys in this course. So when you're doing your survey. SurveyMonkey is a great low-cost way to collect data, and you can go in there and you can make your survey, and it will give you your results. It's a really great way to do a survey. And in preparing surveys, consider these pointers. So I'll let you read over those. Interviews. This is another way to gather information firsthand. If it's a topic that there's not a lot of information on, you may want to conduct an interview. It's good to interview an expert and make sure that you're prepared for that interview. You know what questions you're going to ask. Be professional, and make sure questions are so important. Make sure they're objective and they're not biased. And then make sure you don't keep the interview too long. And always thank them for their time. Observation is another way to gather primary data. To observe, you should arrive early enough to make sure you introduce yourself, set anything up that needs to be, any equipment that needs to be set up, and make sure that you have some kind of form they can sign so that you can record, get their permission. And then it's important to take notes so that when you see the results, you have all the information you need. So here's something I wanted to mention. Changes in environment, even the presence of an observer, often affect actions. Starbucks chief Howard Schultz long resisted surveys and sophisticated marketing research. Instead, he would visit 25 Starbucks locations a week to learn about his customers and Starbucks operations. So this is a great example of how this Starbucks chief executive officer, how he went and observed. So he's getting immediate feedback and he's seeing it for himself. Experimentation is producing data that suggests causes and effects. Assume, for example, Hershey's wants to test the hypothesis that chocolate provides an emotional lift. An experiment testing the hypothesis would separate depressed people into two groups: the chocolate eaters and the chocolate deprived. The chocolate eaters would be the experimental group, and the chocolate deprived would be the control group. So you can always run an experiment, and if you've taken a science class, you know how those work. You can have informal experimentation. This could be like a pre-test and a post-test in a college course. But if you are doing an actual experiment, this requires sophisticated research designs with careful matching of control and experimental groups.